Okay, that's an extremely fantastic accomplishment. But what I want to know, and our viewing audience is going to want to know, you're in a classroom, you're the only female amongst all these men, and you've got one hand. How, and I know that at one point there had to have been maybe some needling, some people that were trying to discourage you. How did you keep yourself encouraged and overcome the prejudices that were being thrown at you?
Well, I thought of all the people that after I get done with it, I could teach. You know, after I get done with it, I could open up a window for women and people who are maybe different, you know. It's not so easy being the first one going through as a woman with one hand, because that's the way they saw it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the guys gave me a little bit of trouble. More or less, though, I felt more pressure from some of my professors. So I had to prove it to them that I could actually work at their level and help teach them as well, because anybody in any profession is always learning. And with motorcycles, you're constantly learning. And there were things that I understood differently than they did. And because I look at things differently, because of my one hand, I do see things a little differently. So I explained it to them in my eyes. That way, they saw it the way I saw it. And it actually turned out they could teach the class better that way.
And you shared a story with me earlier, because I had asked you, how, with me, I was saying I don't know how I would live my life without the hand that I was born with. You, on the other hand, I know you have a story with your father that kind of made you realize that your situation, while can be perceived as tragic, he has a story that can be even more tragic.
Absolutely. I've never met him, but I've heard he's a good guy, and I wanted to meet him when I was a child, and very, very badly, and kept pushing. And my mom said, you know, I don't know that you do want to meet him, because he got kicked in the head by a horse a few years after you were born, and now he's paralyzed. And I kind of took a step back, you know, and I was like, wow, I don't know if I do want to meet him. And then I really started thinking about it. Yeah, I want to meet him, but I want to be that person that can inspire him as well as him inspiring me.
That's just, it's amazing. It just goes to show that when you look around and you look over your shoulder, there's people that are dealing with things that are far more detrimental than some of the things that we're going through. And Peggy, I'd like to go ahead and give you an opportunity if you want to add or elaborate on what Heather was saying or what I've been saying about how you move forward and how you see yourself switch from being the person that is why me to being the eagle that soars.
Mm-hmm. I see you both as eagles. You're both eagles and teachers, really. And I think to have that strength, you have to look within and just really look within, look for success stories, like you were saying, and I know you were looking for success stories, you found success stories. Feed your mind with positive, constantly listen to CDs. Did you listen to CDs?
Absolutely.
Positive CDs, motivational, read material that was any kind of success story. And like you say, Sheila, that I love so much, if you cannot find a success story, be one. I love it when you say that.
Well, thank you, Peggy. And that was. And before I go on, I do want to say that while Heather and I are obviously overcoming and we've moved forward and we're trying to give back and be positive role models for people that are dealing with disabilities or chronic illnesses, and we could be perceived as eagles, it is people like you that give people the breath of life, because you're the one that says you can do it. I can see the quality in you, and people like you is what helps Heather and I move forward. So I definitely want to say that. And on that note, I also want to add that when we are dealing with a chronic illness or some type of a situation, we are oftentimes discriminated against. There are going to be people out there that are going to say, well, okay, Heather, you were born with your hand missing, therefore you don't know what it's like to have one, to miss one. They're going to say, well, Sheila, you know, you're the CEO of Patient's Pride. You haven't really had that big of a challenge, because they're looking at us as people that they didn't see the road of hardship and suffering. They didn't see all the name callings and when I was having the seizures and I couldn't move forward. So Peggy, for the people that are watching the show that were just diagnosed or have just been maybe lost a limb or whatnot, or war veterans, how do they regain control, regroup themselves, and be eagles?
Just like you said, regroup. First of all, number one, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. So you have to start weeding out your friends, the supportive friends. You need that support. You start to feed your mind. Just like you're feeding your mind. Listen to people like you and Heather. You know, find somebody if you've come back from war and you're missing a limb. Seek people like Heather. If you have a chronic illness, seek people like you. Someone who's successfully made it through and has a good attitude. There are some books out there from some people who have been diagnosed with illness. One book will be gung-ho, I can do anything and fantastic like yours. The other one might say, woe is me, why me, this is terrible. Stay away from those books. You know, all positive attitude, very important, and also reach from within.
You know, I like what you said about surrounding yourself around people that were positive, and I actually want to ask you, Heather, when you were growing up, and I know that, well, since your father was obviously incapacitated and your mother was raising you,
right.
What were the people like around you? What were they telling you? Were they building you up, or were they just saying, sit back and relax?
Oh, my mom was absolutely supportive. Didn't understand a whole lot of what I was going through, but, you know, a lot of people wouldn't. And, but I had a daycare provider, Diana, and Diana was my angel. Okay, she taught me and everybody else around me how to deal with it. Okay, she taught me how to not walk all over my mom because I was different and I could get anything I wanted. Okay, that's a huge thing to be able to say now. Yeah, when I was a kid, I used it to my advantage. Well, there's a very fine line, and you have to dance on that fine line and not go either way, so that it's right for both parties. You know, your mom, your relatives, your friends. You know, a lot of the kids that were my age didn't understand. Okay. But I had a couple friends that were really close, Ben, Jenny, and Cody. And Cody's practically my little brother. You know, I mean, we went through pro skating all together. And he was always really supportive. Like, if something would happen, he would be right there supporting me. Same with his mom. So, honestly, it's finding just a few people instead of thinking that a whole bunch of people are going to support you. Find that few and far between. And those are going to be your allies in anything that happens to you. You know, I'll give you a story. My mom was helping me set up my workplace, and she tripped over something and broke her elbow. Well, it happened to be the hand that she uses the most. A day later, I got a phone call. Well, Heather, exactly how do I put my pants on? Because she couldn't get them buttoned. And so I had to teach her how to button her pants, tie her shoes, because she hadn't done it with one hand. She didn't know. I'm 30, and I've gone 30 years without my mom knowing what it's like. So this year, we finally got an experience of Mom knows what it's like. So it's a totally different view for